Michelle Phan, one of the most influential creators the internet has ever seen. From humble beginnings, she built a YouTube empire amassing over 8 million subscribers and more than 1.1 billion total views, and became the blueprint for an entire generation of beauty gurus, setting the standard for what a good makeup tutorial even was. And she can be credited with helping kick off the now $32 billion influencer creator economy. However, over the years, Michelle has kind of become a controversial figure. Like, many people still love her for her early start and respect her YouTube OG beauty guru status. But as the years have gone on, there's also been things that she's said and done that for some people completely tainted her legacy, and for others are just left disappointed and confused. In this video, we're going to be going over her career highs, her business wins and flops, the lawsuits, her disappearances, the cult allegations and other criticisms, and what she's doing now. And before we get into it all, I do want to make my personal take clear so you have an idea of the lens at which everything is getting broken down. I don't agree with everything Michelle has said. I do think there are things that cannot be defended at all, and I have 100% tilted my head like, what do you mean, girl? And trust me, we're gonna get into all of that. That being said, I rarely agree with everything any one person has ever said, and I also don't agree with completely discrediting a woman for all of her work and accomplishments solely based on some things that I feel like she may have wrong. Basically, I feel like a lot of the videos I've seen about Michelle on YouTube have been like, look, she's crazy, she's in a cult, a complete fall from grace. And while we will be getting into all of the cult talk, this is not going to be one of those super dramatic videos. If you are a continued viewer of this channel and our What Happened To series, you know that that's not really how we do things around here. Hoping to bring back more nuance in how we discuss public figures, as they're also human. All of my videos are commentary videos, so they have my opinion in them, and it's okay if you disagree. And with all of that said, let's get into it. Michelle posted her first YouTube video in 2007. It was a natural-looking makeup tutorial that now has over 12 million views. Before her YouTube channel, she actually already had experience blogging under the name Rice Bunny on a site called Xanga. Honestly, this was before my time, but apparently Xanga was like the website for posting blogs in the 2000s. After her first YouTube video blew up, she realized that it was the future, and she just ditched the traditional blog and just full-sended on the video content. At the time, she was an art student in college, and YouTube was a way for her to showcase her skills, not just with makeup, but also with marketing. It was kind of like an online portfolio. Since at the time, no one was really making money off of YouTube yet, this wasn't something that people did as an option for a career. She taught herself iMovie and how to edit, and her first videos were all filmed on the MacBook that her school gave her. Her early videos that really blew up were her Barbie transformation video with over 69 million views, her Lady Gaga poker face tutorial video with over 35 million views, and her Lady Gaga bad romance tutorial video with over 56 million views. I remember watching these when they came out in 2009 and 2010, and was I ever going to do these tutorials myself? No, but I was eating it up. I mean, we all were, clearly. There is something so nostalgic about watching these old YouTube beauty videos now. Like, this was truly a simpler time. She became known for transformations like these, beauty tutorials or hacks, and at some point she had girlies putting egg on their face. Every video ending with her classic good luck message. Her videos were super professional and calm, and she just had this thing about her that made you trust her, because again, she had the girlies putting raw egg on their faces with no questions asked. She basically invented beauty tutorials on YouTube and kickstarted the entire beauty guru niche. To me, this girly was truly the blueprint. I mean, yes, of course, there were other girlies coming up around this time as well that also were huge influences in the beauty space, but I feel like Michelle's the one that really cracked the code and pushed it into the mainstream to the point of getting commercial brand attention. In fact, Michelle was the first person to ever get a contract from Lancome as an official video makeup artist, basically being a brand ambassador. It was kind of a fun full circle moment for her, because before she posted on YouTube, she had actually applied for a regular beauty advisor position at Lancome and then got rejected for not having enough experience. And then 2 years after that, she's popping off on YouTube, and Lancome notices her and reaches out to her. They talk on the phone, they fly her out to New York, she meets the president of Lancome, and they strike up a deal with her saying that she'll make them content and then they'll give her $5,000 a month. And don't get me wrong, $5,000 a month is great money to be making, especially to hear that she was going to get that for her YouTube videos, and it was unheard of at the time. But in hindsight, I'm pretty sure Lancome got a really crazy deal out of this. There were not as many influencers at this time, which means that Michelle's brand was that much more valuable. I'm sure they made so much more off of working with her than what they paid. Like, I assume that they got a huge return on investment there. And Michelle actually received backlash from working with Lancome since, again, at the time, the whole concept of sponsors and brand ambassadors was not the norm. Nowadays, when someone has a sponsor, it's pretty accepted because everyone's doing that, and it's kind of just the price to pay for creators to be able to continue making high quality content for free. But back then, a lot of people were calling her a sellout, and there were questions around Lancome allegedly doing animal testing in order to sell products in China. Don't quote me on this, but allegedly there was some law that required it. So if you were selling it in China, it meant that you had to do some sort of animal testing. I don't know if that's true, but that was just the narrative going around. Michelle soon expanded past just being a YouTuber and became a full-on entrepreneur. In 2012, she co-founded the now $800 million makeup company Ipsy. It was formerly known as MyGlam, and it was one of the first beauty subscription box services. I think at the start when it came out, you paid like $10 a month, and then you get a small bag of sample-sized beauty products to try. She said that the idea came from a trip to Thailand where she saw a ton of women buying bags of small samples of expensive products at some market. And she asked her friend what was going on, and he told her that if you buy the full product in Thailand, you can't return it. So this is what the girlies were doing so that they could make sure that they really like the product before they buy the full size. I believe that there were other companies doing this makeup subscription bag service around the same time too, but I mean, slap Michelle's name on something like this and it's surely gonna help it take off because of her reputation. Something I do remember about Ipsy too is that they had content creators to promote the brand. It was kind of like a mini content house, and Michelle said that that was one of her ideas at the time, which makes sense. While she was working at Ipsy, she also launched a makeup brand, EM Cosmetics, with the help of L'Oreal in 2013. The name M comes from M meaning little brother or little sister in Vietnamese. It was like a way to talk to someone that is younger than you in an endearing way, which she says is exactly how she felt about her viewers online. It was a huge investment for L'Oreal. They poured in like $10 million, and it was the first time that they decided to launch a brand from the ground up. All prior times, they would just acquire smaller brands that were already kind of working, and then they would take that smaller brand and then expand from there. But this was going from nothing to something. It was very risky, and I think it had the workings to be successful, but it ended up flopping. It's mainly attributed to the makeup just being mismarketed. It was too expensive for her audiences, with prices around $30 up to $70, and it had a confusing identity. Like, it was expensive, but it didn't really look or feel expensive. It seemed a little cheesy. Critics said it was cheaply made, poor quality, and I mean, the packaging of it was already a flop, honestly. It wouldn't take an expert to tell you that. And nothing really connected it to Michelle besides her choosing the name. This led to more sellout accusations against Michelle, and L'Oreal ends up shutting the brand down in 2015. She also briefly had a different skincare line that she started before ever starting Ipsy and EM Cosmetics that didn't really get anywhere and was a flop. I couldn't find much mention of it online from published news sources, only from Reddit and other blogs writing about Michelle, but this was a real thing and it was called IQQU. Some people online have really negative things to say about it, saying that she lied about it being FDA approved and had some other complications. I had never heard of this before. I don't know if girlie lied about anything or if she just messed up and moved on. I mean, obviously it was a flop. She dropped it and moved on to her next ideas. By around 2016, Michelle cashes out and leaves Ipsy. She said that it had just gotten to a point where the company was too big and she didn't have much control over things. Some prior employees of Ipsy have spilled some tea online saying that Michelle was kind of just a face and she didn't do much on the operational side of things. I don't know if that's true. I wasn't there. There were/are still some rumors that there might have been some tension that led to her leaving, but that's all just rumors because from what I've seen, every time Michelle talks about her experience there, it's giving very positive and just that it was just her time to leave. And while we're on the topic of building businesses, I want to take a moment to share about the sponsor of today's video, Brevo. Brevo is an all-in-one customer messaging and marketing platform designed to make life easier for small and growing businesses. If you're running a business, a brand, or a marketing team, you already know how messy your tool stack can get managing all of your customer communications. Brevo pulls everything together, email, SMS, WhatsApp, automation, into one clean and simple dashboard. You can launch email campaigns in minutes, send SMS or WhatsApp updates to your customers, and build automated flows without needing any coding experience. And with Aura AI, you can generate subject lines, copy, and personalize content instantly, a huge win if you're short on time or resources. Brevo also makes personalization effortless, which matters if you're trying to stand out. Your messages feel more tailored, customers engage more, and retention goes up. With their analytics tool, you'll see exactly what's driving driving results and be able to target the right segments and scale your campaigns without wasting budget. So if you want to simplify your marketing, boost engagement, and grow smarter, try Brevo. Use my link below and redeem code JustineKoa to save 50% on starter and standard plans for the first 3 months. This offer is only available for new paying customers. Thank you to Brevo for sponsoring today's video. So EM Cosmetics ends in 2015 and she leaves Ipsy in 2016, and all of this is leading up to her eventual disappearance off of YouTube. In addition to just the stresses of doing both of those businesses at the same time and going back and forth from New York to LA to make everything happen, on top of her regular scheduled YouTube videos, she was also going through some legal battles. In 2014, Michelle gets sued by Ultra Records for using tracks that they own publishing rights to in over 50 of her YouTube videos without proper licenses. The amount totaling in upwards of $7 million in damages. Like, excuse me, $7 million? Nowadays, YouTube knows about these copyright things. They have their rules and ways to notify creators, and people are just generally way more aware of the landscape when it comes to copyright law and essentially music licensing. But back then, it kind of was just the Wild West. Like, Michelle got sued and YouTube was like, oh shit, we actually didn't know about that either. Michelle also said that she even got the artist's permission to use the music, but she just didn't realize that not only did she need the artist's permission, she also needed the record label's permission because they owned the publishing. She countersued them and accused them of abusing DMCA. They eventually do settle outside of court around the end of 2015 for undisclosed terms, but I'm assuming Girly got out of having to pay the $7 million. So that's the context around her work life and career that leads up to her suddenly disappearing off of YouTube and social media from around June 2016 to July 2017. During that time, she didn't post a single video, and when she does come back, she posts an 11-minute, 11-second long video called Why I Left, which has over 14 million views. This video, honestly, no matter what you think about Michelle, is a masterpiece. She narrates her story leading up to her fame, her relationship with money coming from trauma with her dad's gambling addiction and growing up poor, losing control of her brand and losing herself, finding solitude through spiritual exploration, and finding her love to create again, all over her drawing the entire thing. And the music she chose to include, like, it was cinema. Now, the interesting thing is the takeaway from that video on why she left and the takeaway from a recent interview of hers with fellow YouTuber Zoe Unlimited on why she left are kind of different, which I do wish that Zoe touched on during the interview, but their interview was like over 3 hours long, so I get that there was probably just too much to cover. But the reason I found it interesting is because in her original Why I Left video, it's very much giving that work was the bad guy. The fame led to people wanting more of her and that they only cared about the money. She was chasing more money, more success, got lost in it, and it affected her relationship to her family and friends. She then lost herself. Then she needed to like drop everything to get back in touch with herself and heal. But then in her interview with Zoe, she says that at the time of her being busy back and forth from New York and LA and making content, she was actually happy. Her personal life took a hit because she was never home, and that certain people in her life felt neglected, but she was just trying to support the life that they were living. She told Zoe that she wished that she spoke up and said, come with me and be a part of my journey, but instead she was just a caretaker and an enabler. She didn't say what her needs were, and then it got to a point where there was just a break. She was financially abundant but didn't feel fulfilled in her relationship, and then it got to a point where the world was her oyster and she had to choose to either keep pursuing it and the world is hers or choose love. And she said that she chose love. So her entire break off of YouTube with her going to Switzerland in her Why I Left video, it's framed like she needed to do this to heal herself. But in her interview with Zoe, it's giving she did this so she could fix her relationship. And did it work? Well, we'll get into it a little bit more later with her relationship stuff, but she then goes on a tangent about how you shouldn't choose love and the only person you have in life is yourself. So it is giving, I regret taking that break because I did it to save a relationship that didn't work out. So my question is, were you really burnt out from work, or were people just telling you to slow down? Maybe it was a mix of things. I mean, obviously I don't know the answer. I'm not Michelle. It makes sense that her own take on the situation has shifted as years have gone on and will probably continue to shift, since as we learn and grow, we just have different takes on stuff that happened to us in the past. I just thought it was interesting to see the difference in how she talks about that initial leave now that years have gone by. Her 2017 return came with the news that she was working on EM Cosmetics again, which she had bought the rights from L'Oreal using some of the money that she got from Ipsy before she left. She decided to rebuild the makeup brand from scratch with a small team team. Michelle has been very candid online about the original M launch with L'Oreal and how that was a total flop for the price and the disconnect from it really feeling like her brand. She spoke about being excited to have the freedom and control over her own company and that there was no bad blood, and she was actually very grateful to L'Oreal for believing in her at the time and the fact that she was able to buy her brand back. That year, she also released a webtoon series called Helios Femina, which I personally did not read or engage with, but the art looks very on brand Michelle, and it's no surprise that she wanted to work on a project like this. In 2018, she also started a business called Thematic, which is a free music marketplace to help content creators find music for their videos while also promoting up-and-coming musicians. The inspiration for starting this business clearly came from her lawsuit struggle with Ultra Records. I mean, she literally says on the website, as a creator, my biggest struggle was finding the right music for my videos without getting in trouble. At this point, she didn't really come back in the sense that she was a full-blown YouTuber. She didn't really ever post consistently again. I feel like the traditional beauty guru YouTuber trope had also started to die down, and the concept started to shift and change towards other big creators in the space, kind of like a new generation. She told Zoe that at some point she just lost sight of her dreams, and that's why she stopped posting. She was always taking care of other people and putting their needs above hers, and she forgot who she was, and she became complacent and less curious, and her growth stalled. Other people had influenced her to take it easy, even though that's not who she is, and she said that she lied to herself and made herself smaller and less ambitious because of it, which is a lesson in understanding that who you surround yourself with is going to have an impact on how you live your own life. When watching that part of the interview, I did feel kind of bad for her family and friends that were speaking to her like that, because that can come from a place of care. Like, oh, don't be so stressed anymore, you already made it, you can just enjoy. But the way she frames it is that just all of these people were simply holding her back. And I guess they technically were holding her back, since her true nature seems to be super ambitious and always want to be working towards something and learning and growing and being ahead of the curve. So she's not wrong for saying that that's what happened to her. But I think it's just another example of the fact that some people in life are just not compatible, and that's okay. Like, I don't think that those people were holding her back intentionally, like that they had any malicious intent. I think there's also a discussion to be had about the psychology of growing up poor, obtaining money and success, and how that alters your relationship with money and making money in the future. I'm not about to psychoanalyze Michelle and her upbringing. I don't have the qualifications for that. But Michelle has talked about her relationship with money before and how it may have made her lose herself, and how she learned that money can't buy happiness. Like, money can be good, but it's also dangerous. Now, I'm not 100% sure when this next thing took place. I think it was around 2019, but she also has beef with a guy named Michael Avenatti. He was a very high-profile lawyer. He got disbarred after all of the shit went down. Basically, he got exposed for stealing millions and millions of dollars from multiple of his clients, and also tax evasion. He's in jail right now as we speak, and some sources say that he allegedly embezzled $4 million from Michelle. I would have eternal beef with that guy. The audacity of some people is insane. Michelle said that people around her who relied on her success for their own personal income and profit then started to really control her to the point where she couldn't say or do certain things, which then leads her to attending a meditation retreat in 2022 that she says she came back with a massive breakthrough that people around her didn't like and didn't want her to talk about. Which brings us to the cult allegations and the more controversial side of Michelle, because there has been a lot of online chatter in the last few years. I think it's pretty much impossible to stumble across anything related to Michelle and not have some comment about how, oh, she's in a cult now, or isn't she in a cult? And on one hand, I do feel kind of bad because, you know, that's not a great thing to be seeing or have tied to your name. But on another hand, girly did do it to herself for what she posted. In 2022, she posted a series of very questionable Instagram stories about going to a retreat to meditate, saying, I can't even begin to articulate how incredibly life-changing today was. I'm still processing all of the miracles I witnessed and the miracle I became today. I finally felt what true love is, not in a romantic sense. Divine love. This was all through intentional meditation with breath work. I saw angels. I experienced complete bliss and joy that I've never experienced in my life. I healed a man who was in a wheelchair for years. He's not only walking now, but dancing with joy. There's so much more. I'm still processing all this. I'm feeling so much love because I am love. Love is me. I am the universe experiencing itself, and I feel infinite. One more note, this meditation retreat is not one of those relaxing spa ones. My friends think I'm relaxing and chilling. Nah, bro, I'm working. I'm clocking in 4 hours of sleep every day, waking up at 3 a.m. to meditate for 5 hours straight, no breaks, not even for the bathroom. Then we eat, learn science for 2 hours, then meditate again, then break, and then meditate again. It's work. My favorite part about all this is the coherent healing sessions where we heal people with pain, illness, etc. using the intentional meditation technique and breath work. Yo, life changing. The people in this retreat, wow. I've never ever experienced so much love from strangers my entire life. I've never felt so safe. This is the most love I've ever received. I showed up skeptical and even considered leaving. 7 days of meditating, I can't even sit still for 5 minutes. My mind wanted to leave. My heart wasn't open. My body was closed up, but my higher self winked at me and said, "You'll thank me later." To my higher self, thanks sis, I really needed this. I used to groan at setting these alarms, but now I'm excited to wake up at 4 a.m. to meditate for 5 hours. Lamau, who am I? I am the universe experiencing itself, and I feel loved because I am love. And so are you. So we never hear about who this man is she claims to have healed to be able to walk again, or get any proof of this or any follow-up. She also posts about the leader of this retreat, Joe Dispenza, praising him, saying that he once broke his spine and then reprogrammed his mind to now be able to walk again, expressing gratitude for the experience at the retreat and saying that the work she did there was the most important work that she's ever done. So who is this Joe Dispenza guy? He's a chiropractor turned spiritual leader. He hosts these 7-day retreats that cost thousands of dollars to attend. He sells meditations, books, music, lectures and online courses, and straight up just merch. He's claimed that his meditations can cure people with diseases ranging from infertility to straight up cancer. He's claimed to have made tumors disappear, deaf people hear, and blind people see with his pseudoscience. There are a plethora of people who have posted online saying that they were victims of Joe, or someone in their life was a victim of believing his teachings. He does have a lot of supporters. I mean, this guy is fully in business, so people refer to him as leading some cult. And now that Michelle was praising him in her Instagram stories, people were saying that this is proof that she joined his cult. The messaging in her Instagram stories saying that she was basically sleep deprived, then forced to meditate with no breaks, and then taught science was very alarming. People pointed out that it seemed like she got love bombed and then manipulated into trusting this fake belief, which is a classic cult tactic. She did respond to this in a now deleted video saying that she's not in a cult. She said she actually felt happy when she heard about what people were saying online about it because she felt like people really cared for her and were worried for her and scared for her, and it all just made her feel super loved. It made her want to cry, and she felt really touched by it since she had been going through a lot, which also kind of asserts how she may have been a really good target for something like this since she clearly was not in a good headspace before going to the retreat. She said it herself. So yeah, in the video, she says that she's not in a cult and that her personality as an Aries makes her too inconsistent to be in a cult, and she also just naturally does her own thing and has her own ideology, and she's always curious and trying to expand and explore her curiosity, so she's not the type of person to stick with a cult. But then she kind of eerily says that if she is in a cult, then it's a cult of love, and is that so bad? I'll be so real with you guys. The first time that I heard of this thing happening, I thought it was weird for sure, but I really wasn't that alarmed. I wasn't following it too closely. But now with me researching for this video and really diving into it all, I do think it's pretty alarming. In her interview with Zoe that we've mentioned in this video multiple times already, they don't directly talk about the cult allegations, but it's kind of referenced because Michelle talks about how at that time people thought she was crazy and she felt like they were crazy for not knowing what she knew, and she felt like she got kicked out of a village and needed to pretend to think like everyone else to be let back in again and have to hide a part of her. She talks about lucid dreaming, dream journaling, consciousness, meditation, all of these tools that she feels like have changed her life for the better but are all stigmatized. And in some ways, like, girl, I get it. People definitely benefit from meditation. Lucid dreaming sounds cool as hell. Dream journaling every day I don't think is dangerous. And being more aware of your consciousness sounds pretty beneficial to overall life. But I think the part where you said you healed a man in a wheelchair and now he's dancing with joy, that's where you lost everyone. And I feel bad because I do feel like she's a victim, and people who fall for these types of things, there's a reason that they do. And it doesn't make Michelle a dumb person. I don't think it makes anyone a dumb person. I think she's actually very smart, but this is where I draw the line. Like, girl, you lost me. A lot of people feel that because Michelle is such a spiritual person, that also made her more susceptible for falling for this ideology. She has spoken a lot in the past about following her intuition with things, looking to higher powers for signs, which I don't think is inherently problematic in any way at all. I feel like a lot of people are spiritual in some sense, sense or religious. One thing I saw referenced multiple times was a story that Michelle had posted before on a blog where she talks about feeling unsafe in New York City and being followed, but then she saw two guys and she says that she knew they were safe because she saw them eating chicken and rice and she took that as a sign from God. And turns out that they were good guys and helped her get back to her hotel safely. Some people say she's crazy for this, but honestly, a lot of people do things or make decisions because they feel higher powers or God, if you believe in God, pulling them to do it. I don't think that means she's just crazy. I do feel like there's a lot of negative stigma around being spiritual and that Michelle gets a lot of criticism when she talks about spirituality, and I don't think that that's necessarily fair. I feel like it's also kind of human nature to search for signs and things or follow your intuition no matter what you feel is fueling that intuition. So do I personally think she's in a cult? I don't know. I will say if you asked me before I researched this video, I would have said no, but now I'm not really sure. You can make your own judgment on that. I will say that I feel like the defining factor in why I still feel comfortable supporting her makeup brand and still engage with her content despite the things that we just talked about is that she doesn't seem to be actively promoting any of the Joe Dispenza stuff now. Like if her content turned into her just constantly preaching about Joe Dispenza and his teachings, I would be like, girl, respectfully, I'm unsubscribing right now. But I feel like because she doesn't put it in our faces, it is a little bit ambiguous what exactly she thinks about it all now. There's also some online speculation about her potentially being in some alleged sex cult. Basically, she had promoted some virtual dominatrix class called Mistress Class that was run by some girl named Colette. I'm not gonna get into all of the things with Colette and all of the allegations since those are things alleged about Colette and her man, not about Michelle directly. You can find out about that yourself. There's a lot of discussions about it up on Reddit, but Michelle has denied being that involved and said that she's far removed from their personal lives. I do feel like people accusing Michelle of being in some alleged cult just for promoting a class seems kind of far-fetched, but also given the questionable things that people have found about that class, I also understand why the questions were brought up. I feel like sometimes Michelle leaned a little too heavy on the identity of being a guru in general. Another example of this is back in 2021, she was really into promoting cryptocurrency. She also got a lot of backlash on this. People found it really weird and really random for her because it was just totally out of her normal niche. She made videos explaining Bitcoin and she'd post on her stories encouraging people to buy in and also sharing how she got some friends and family into it and the gains that they were able to see. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with promoting cryptocurrency. I mean, she's not wrong that she did make money from it and the value is going up. And it is still up to the individual person whether or not they want to get into it. Like, it's not like she committed a crime with this. It's just something that felt weird to a lot of her audience and didn't resonate. In 2020, during COVID, she also got backlash for posting an Instagram story about how burning antiviral essential oils would kill COVID before it enters your system. This is complete pseudoscience. Dr. Pimple Popper even called her out for it on Twitter, which is kind of hilarious to me. She did end up responding saying that she didn't mean to mislead her audience and she was told this information by one of her friends who was a nurse. I feel like Michelle is just so open-minded that it's a blessing and a curse. And I'm also aware of how parasocial it is that I see that and I'm like feeling bad for her. I'm not really like mad that she's spreading misinformation to her large platform. I just feel bad. Like, girly, how did we get here? Like, let's not do this anymore. It also feels bad that in every discussion about Michelle nowadays, it always comes with some discussion around whether or not she's in a cult. And it doesn't really come from a place of like, look, it's actually sad and scary that Joe Dispenza is manipulating people and these people are victims. Instead, it usually comes more from a place of people just wanting to be like, hey, look at this girl that had great success. She's just crazy now. Or look, she's always been crazy. I don't think girly is just crazy. There are a lot of other big influencers and creators that personally know Michelle and are still associating with her and really respect her. Like in 2023, she had a character conversation with Bretman Rock where she talks about her interest in consciousness and meditation and even using psychedelics. And he's like nodding along with her and telling her that he connected with his grandmother through meditation and is also just very spiritual himself. Just this year, she talked with Rosanna Pansino, who really respects Michelle, about, again, the meditation and the lucid dreaming and the power of changing your thought and how it affects your reality. reality. And Rosanna was eating it up and adding to the conversation. I guess what I'm trying to get at is you don't have to subscribe to absolutely everything someone says. Just because there are some things where I'm like, girl, you lost me, doesn't mean that everything she says now or does now is just like cuckoo. But y'all, I am so curious what she has to say about the wheelchair thing now in 2025, if she has more clarity on it. Like, I totally believe that things in your mindset can alter your reality. I mean, a lot of people believe in manifestation, and I believe that your mental health and your physical health are connected in some type of way, but not to this degree. I don't know if she'll ever address it again. I don't know what she tells her friends and people she knows in real life. Like, does everyone just not talk about it? Like, if my friend told me they genuinely healed someone in a wheelchair by essentially just giving good vibes, I would have so many follow-up questions. I am just so curious. And please, I don't know if I even have to make this kind of disclaimer, but if you have a medical condition and are seeking help, please see a professional doctor. Okay, you guys, we made it through the cult talk. In terms of her relationship with Dom, I'm like 99% sure that they're not together anymore. I think maybe the split could have happened sometime in the more recent years. In her interview with Zoe from earlier this year, she referred to Dom as Dom, my partner at the time, which I feel like is pretty telling already. Like, I don't think you'd slip up and refer to your current partner like that. And that's the same interview where we mentioned earlier how she talked about choosing love and taking a break from YouTube and shades her decision to do that like it was the wrong decision. She also talks about how it's hard for a lot of men to accept the fact that things have changed and women are now able to become providers in relationships, and that she didn't know how to navigate the insecurities of people who feel inferior because she's the one making the money. Which, like, okay, tea. She said that in 2022, she fixed herself, which I'm not sure if that's in reference to the retreat, but she says that when she came back, she realized her relationships with other people were all a mess. She realized that she didn't want people around her that limited her growth, like people who wanted her to stay happy with making $200K a year when she could go and try to make $1 billion. We did have some confirmation back in 2021 that they were still together up until then from Michelle's sister-in-law Promise's baby gender reveal vlog. There's like a masked guy in the video and everyone in the comments assumed that it was Dom. And then in 2023, Michelle posted some Halloween celebration photos where there's this guy whose face is covered that people also suspected was Dom. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, the face is covered. How am I supposed to know? But this was just speculation for curious people because I was definitely curious. So assuming that was Dom, then potentially the breakup could have happened between the end of 2023 till 2025, which would be pretty recent. And again, this is all speculation. I don't know any of this for sure, but it does kind of make sense to me that if it happened recently, she would be feeling very much like, oh, like, I chose love and I shouldn't have, and still kind of be in that I'm bitter because I did this thing for you and we didn't even work out, and the wound is too fresh right now for me to acknowledge the positive sides from you choosing love and this and that and like the good that was in our relationship and blah blah blah. Again, I don't know, all speculation. Semi-recently, Michelle ran a podcast on her channel called Afterglow around the last few months of 2024. It was her podcast interview era with some other OG YouTubers and some new creators that are on the come up. It had a very cozy vibe. One of her goals was to share people's stories, since when you hear about other people's stories, you learn that they're not that different from your own, and people feel more united and more connected. The topics range from digital minimalism, identity, burnout, consumerism, spirituality, finances, and more. I have referenced one of her episodes before with our Nigahiga video, which was a very insightful episode. I admit I've only watched a couple of her episodes, but the ones that I did watch, I did really enjoy because you can tell that there's so much respect between Michelle and the guest in the conversations, and it all just feels very genuine. So nowadays, you can mostly find Michelle on TikTok. Odds are, while you're watching this video, she's live right now. EM Cosmetics is still going strong. I admittedly am a big consumer of EM Cosmetics makeup, not even gonna lie, most of my face right now is EM Cosmetics. So Michelle has been on TikTok not only promoting her makeup brand, but also selling a variety of other products. A big one that I see her having a partnership with is Medicube. I also saw her selling a vacuum cleaner at one point. Like, sometimes the products are very random, and it's almost comical how good she is at selling things. Like, she is dead serious and she will convince you that you need this product. It makes sense because if you think back to her YouTube content, she was always selling products. That's literally her expertise. And Michelle says that she does this live selling now because she just loves it. In 2016, she was flown out to China and got an intro to live shopping, saw its power, and was just blown away, which honestly facts, because China is really killing it in terms of technology and its future. I mean, QVC has has always been a thing, but taking that format and applying it to social media platforms that we're on today, since TV is dying or honestly already dead, was something that China was ahead on. Michelle said that she was just waiting for live shopping to be brought to the US, and since it has been, she's been on top of it. She can do an 8-hour live show and sell $300,000 worth of product, which is insane. I mean, she didn't say what her exact take home would be from that, but I imagine it's a good chunk of change. And she's even doing a creator program to train others how to do it too. I'm always a little skeptical when people want to sell you like creator program courses, but Michelle definitely has the expertise. Some people online are also skeptical about the numbers that she says, but I honestly believe it since people have been doing those numbers on TikTok Shop, not just Michelle. Like, you really don't have to be famous or an influencer or business owner to sell products on TikTok and make a lot of money. You really don't even need to have that high quality production on your videos either. Honestly, if I think about it too hard, I do feel a little put off about it since a lot of the products on TikTok Shop are giving this is peak consumerism and like useless slop. But there's also a lot of legit shops on TikTok, great small businesses to support, genuinely good products to buy. You just have to be conscious. In terms of what's next for her, she's mentioned that her next era is going to be focused on building her true legacy, which she believes will be about building future brands powered by reputable creators. Her end game is some combination of brands, creators, commerce, and applied education, which makes sense since that's pretty much what she's been building her expertise around in one way or another her entire career. When asked if she would ever do YouTube full-time again, she says that she would when it made sense, and that she would need to think about how she wants to position herself as a YouTuber again, since people don't watch makeup tutorials like they used to, and she's aware that she needs to evolve with the times. And if she does want to get back into it and consistently post on YouTube, then she would need her content to align with who she is and for it to make an impact like she used to. So it's giving she's not going to waste her time with just posting anything she wants. She would need it to be what she wants and bring in the numbers, which I feel like is a pretty woke way to think about it. I feel like a lot of OG beauty gurus and YouTubers or whatnot always complain about the algorithm changing and that being their downfall. But Michelle has a very different take on it. Like, she sees that things are changing and she's like, all right, let me just change and evolve with it and make it work, which I honestly really respect a lot. And it's not surprising when you consider everything about Michelle that she shared about her ambition, her work ethic, and wanting to be ahead of the curve and very forward thinking. She is not someone to just be playing around. And with all of that, we reached the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for being here. We're nearing the end of the year and I just have so much gratitude for you guys. It truly means so much to me. So please like and subscribe to support the channel, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.